Welcome to the second video in the series, Getting Started in CellEngine. I'm Anita, a technical application specialist with CellEngine, and today we'll be discussing basic gating. If you haven't watched the first video, which covered setting up an experiment and adding metadata, it'll be linked in the video description below. Today we'll discuss adjusting channel scales, creating compensation matrices, and setting up gates in your project. Some of the more advanced gating features like automatic gate adjustment and creating Boolean gates will be covered in the next video. I'm going to switch over to CellEngine, where I've opened the experiment that we made in the last video. Let's go to the gating page of this experiment. In the middle of the screen is the gating plot. You can change the axes of the plot by clicking on the channel name and selecting a channel from the drop-down options. Directly below the gating plot is the file selector. To change the sample you're viewing, you can use these arrows or click on the drop-down box and then select a file. You'll notice in the drop-down options that the annotations columns are also shown for the samples. If you only want to display certain annotations, you can make selections by clicking the eye in the upper right of this dialog box. In this case, I'm going to hide the dose column. You can also filter files by value. If I wanted to begin gating on the unstimulated controls, I can click on the three horizontal lines on the treatment column and select one or more values. Now when I use the arrows on the file selector to go through samples, I'll be restricted to just those two files. Before beginning gating, you may also want to adjust your scales. To change channel scales, go to the Tools section on the left and click Edit Scales. CellEngine has three scale types available: linear, log, and arcsine H. All of these have a minimum and a maximum value for the scale. In addition, arcsine H has a cofactor, which controls the compression of the scale around 0. Increasing the cofactor compresses the data more, while decreasing the cofactor will expand the data. Where you set it depends on your data spread and your personal preference. If you've got a negative minimum, a good starting place is to use half of the minimum value. So if we set the minimum to -500, you might try 250 for the cofactor. The scale plot will change as you click on the variables for each channel, or you can change the axes just like in the gating plot. If you are changing several channels to the same settings, you can select the channels using the checkboxes. Then enter the desired setting here at the bottom of the dialog and click Assign to Selected to add all those settings to the selected channels. Once all of your channels are appropriately scaled, you may want to adjust compensation. Any internal compensation matrix will be available from the drop-down under Plot Settings. To adjust compensation, click on Edit. Here you can edit any part of the matrix and be shown the corresponding plot on the left-hand side, or change the plot to be taken to the corresponding cell in the matrix. The arrow keys can be used to navigate between cells in the matrix. If you want to adjust the compensation, you can press Enter, and then the up-down arrows will adjust the compensation up or down. Sometimes adjusting compensation will push values off scale. While you can edit scales as we just discussed, the scale options are also shown here under the plot for quick adjustment. If your data already has an existing compensation matrix, you can also copy-paste values into the matrix from an open spreadsheet or upload a matrix by dragging in a file. When you're done making changes, click on Save As and name the new matrix to return to gating. By default, one compensation matrix will be used in an experiment. When you select a different matrix from the drop-down menu, it will apply to all samples. However, you can also choose different matrices for different files. This is done from the Annotations page. In the top bar, check Enable Per File Compensation, and you'll see a new column with the matrix for each sample appear. You can choose an option for each sample, or you can copy-paste a matrix name into multiple cells simultaneously. If you disable per file compensations, the selections will be saved so you can turn them back on in the future without loss of data. Let's return to the gating page to see how this changes the matrix that is used. Once you have per file compensation enabled, you'll be able to select per file as one of the matrix options. Then the name of the matrix currently associated with the sample you're viewing will be in parentheses. For example, this file is uncompensated. The gating plot can be changed in several different ways. The color scale or smoothing can be adjusted for better visualization. There are several plot types available for gating as well. For 2D plots, you can use dot or contour plots. Dot plots can be colored by density of events, as it is now, left uncolored, or colored by another channel in the experiment. To color by a channel, select dot for the plot type, and then change the color channel to something else. For example, if I color by phosphostat 3, you can see that there's two main clusters on this particular plot. Or I can use a contour plot to see the distribution of events more clearly. For this example, I'll increase the smoothing slightly to reduce edge distortion. You can also change the percentile start and what percentage of events is captured in each step of the contour plot. CellEngine has 6 different gate types, which are represented above the plot by these icons. For 2D flow plots, there are rectangular, polygon, elliptical, and quadrant gates, and then range and split gates for histograms. To place a gate, click on the icon and then click in the plot. Then name the population, and you'll see it added to the gating hierarchy on the right-hand side. The hierarchy will also show you the number of events in the population and the percent of parent. When you add a gate, you'll also see a gate label in the plot. In this case, the gate label is displaying the percent of parent. In plot settings, you can change this to another statistic like the gate name or a number of events. To place the next gate, I'll change the axes. Let's use CD20 and CD3 so we can identify B and T cells in this sample. Then I can click on the parent population on the right-hand side. When placing a polygon gate, you can double-click once you put down all the vertices to close the shape. Vertices can also be selected and dragged to adjust the placement. If you select a vertex in a polygon gate, you can delete it entirely with the delete key, or add an additional vertex by right-clicking the gate name in the hierarchy and choosing Add Polygon Point at the bottom. Let's place one more gate in this experiment. I'm going to switch the plot type to histogram, which will give me access to the 1D gate types, range gates and split gates. As I mouse over these populations, you'll notice this square icon with an arrow coming out of it. Clicking that will change the plot to display the relevant gate in its parent population. It's a quick way to go through your gates without having to manually adjust the axes. To fine-tune gate placement, you can copy and paste the position of vertices. This can help align gates if you want them to be adjacent without any overlap. Right-click on a vertex and select Copy Vertex Position, then right-click on another vertex. Here, you can paste the X or Y channel position or both at the same time. If you're happy with the position of your gate and you want to prevent accidental movement, you can lock position of the gate in 2 ways. The first is to lock a single gate. Show the gate in parent and then click on Lock on the left-hand side. Alternately, you can lock all gates for a particular sample in an experiment. First, go to the annotations page, find the sample that you want to lock, and check Gates Locked. This will lock all gates for that sample. This concludes the basic gating features of CellEngine, from setting up compensation and scaling through gate placement and adjustment. Next time, we'll discuss how to position gates independently for different samples in the experiment, go over how to import populations, compensation, or scaling, and create Boolean and combination gates together. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about gating in CellEngine, you can always reach us at support@cellengine.com.